Derek walks into his mother's hospital room at 7:43 p.m. after working a double shift at the fire station. Exhausted but determined to spend time with her like he has every single evening for the past 6 months. What he sees makes his blood run cold. His sister Lydia is leaning over their mother's hospital bed, forcing a pen into their mother's trembling hand while her husband Marcus stands guard at the door. Their mother's face is twisted in distress, tears rolling down her sunken cheeks, her lips moving but making no sound above the whisper of oxygen flowing through her tubes. What the hell is going on? Derek's voice cuts through the room like a knife. The nurse, someone Derek doesn't recognize, not the usual evening nurse, looks distinctly uncomfortable, her hands wringing together, her eyes darting between the family members like she wants to disappear. Lydia doesn't even look at Derek, just keeps that pen pressed against their mother's fingers. She's signing the will. It's what Mom wants. Her final wishes. Stop interfering, Derek. But their mother is crying silently, her whole body shaking, trying to pull her hand away, but too weak, too sick, too defeated. Derek crosses the room in 3 strides and reaches for the document, but Marcus moves to block him, a wall of muscle in an expensive suit. Back off, Marcus says quietly, his voice carrying a threat Derek has heard before in burning buildings before they collapse. This is family business. Derek ignores him and grabs his mother's free hand. Her fingers close around his with surprising strength, the grip of someone drowning, desperate. She looks up at Derek with those eyes that used to be so bright and are now dulled by morphine and pain, and she whispers one broken word through cracked lips. Stop her. The words are barely audible over the beeping monitors, but they land like a gunshot. Derek's world tilts on its axis. His mother isn't signing this willingly. This isn't end-of-life planning. This is coercion. This is abuse. Derek snatches the document from under the pen before Lydia can react, but Marcus grabs his arm hard enough to bruise. Give that back. Lydia's voice is ice. Mom wants this. She wants to make sure everything is handled properly before. Before what? Derek's voice shakes with rage. Before you steal everything she and Dad built. Lydia's mask slips for just a second, pure venom flashing across her perfectly made-up face. Call security, she tells Marcus. Derek's disturbing mom. The nurse, her name tag says Jennifer, moves toward the door, but as she passes Derek, she slips something into his jacket pocket. The movement is so subtle that Derek almost misses it. Then she's gone, leaving Derek alone with his dying mother, his scheming sister, and a document that smells like fraud. Get out, Lydia hisses. Before I have you arrested for harassment. Derek leaves, but not before kissing his mother's forehead and whispering, I'll fix this, Mom. I promise. In the hallway, he pulls out what Jennifer gave him, a sticky note with shaky handwriting that says simply, check the cameras. Room 447. She didn't want to sign. Derek spends 3 hours fighting with the hospital administration to see his mother alone. Lydia has apparently told everyone he's unstable and aggressive, painting herself as the protective daughter while Derek becomes the problematic son. It's only when his mother wakes from her morphine-induced sleep and specifically asks for Derek, and only Derek, that they finally let him back in the room. She looks so small in that hospital bed, this woman who raised him and his sister alone after their father died in a car accident 12 years ago. This woman who worked 2 jobs to put them through college, who never missed a birthday or a school play, who taught Derek that integrity matters more than wealth. Baby, she whispers when Derek takes her hand, I'm so sorry. She threatened me. Said if I didn't sign, she'd stop my treatments. Cut off my care. Let me die alone and in pain. Derek feels tears burning his eyes, but won't let them fall. Not yet. Not when his mother needs him to be strong. Mom, you don't have to apologize. None of this is your fault. His mother's grip tightens with desperate urgency. Your father, what your father left for you. The original will, she can't have it. It was for you and her equally. But she wants everything. Derek, please. Protect what your father left. Don't let her. The monitor alarm screams, and Derek's world stops. Nurses rush in, pushing him aside, medical jargon flying. Code blue. Crash cart. Derek stands frozen in the corner watching them try to bring his mother back, but he can see in their eyes that they've done this dance too many times. At 2:47 a.m., his mother takes her last breath. Derek holds her hand as she goes, whispering that he loves her, that he'll protect her legacy, that he won't let Lydia win. And as she dies, he sees Lydia in the doorway, watching with dry eyes and something that looks almost like satisfaction. The funeral planning becomes a power struggle. Lydia immediately takes charge, barking orders at the funeral home staff, choosing flowers their mother would have hated, inviting people their mother couldn't stand. She plays the grieving daughter perfectly for the gathered relatives, dabbing at dry eyes with tissues while accepting condolences. Derek watches her hug their mother's best friend while simultaneously texting Marcus. Derek catches a glimpse of the message. Will is done. Tomorrow we handle the house. At the reception after the funeral, Derek overhears Marcus whisper to Lydia, "We destroy everything else tomorrow." Everything else, meaning evidence, meaning documents, meaning anything that contradicts their fraudulent will. Derek makes a decision. He'll go to their mother's house tonight before they can sanitize it. But when he arrives at 11 p.m., he discovers new locks on every door. He tries his key, the one his mother gave him years ago for emergencies, but it doesn't work. Through the window, he sees Lydia and Marcus inside, bags and bags of documents spread across the dining room table. Derek's phone rings. It's Mrs. Chun, their mother's neighbor of 20 years. "Derek, I don't know what's going on, but I saw your sister and that husband of hers carrying bags and bags of stuff out of your mother's house last night. Files, boxes, everything. They had a shredder running in the garage until 3 a.m. I heard it through my bedroom window. I just thought you should know." The next morning, Derek returns to the hospital, desperate and furious. He finds Jennifer finishing her shift. "I need to see that camera footage," he says without preamble. Jennifer looks around nervously. "I filed an incident report. I saw what happened in that room. Your sister forcing your mother's hand, literally guiding the pen. I've been a nurse for 20 years. I know what coercion looks like. The cameras would prove it, but..." She pauses, her face grim. "But what?" Derek's heart is pounding. The footage is gone. Someone erased it. Wiped the whole evening. Hospital security said it was a technical glitch. But Derek, I saw Marcus in the security office the day after your mother passed. He had a security badge. Said he was checking on something. 20 minutes later, the footage is mysteriously corrupted. Derek feels rage so pure it's almost clarifying. This wasn't opportunistic greed. This was planned. Premeditated. A conspiracy to steal his inheritance and destroy any evidence of wrongdoing. But Jennifer isn't done. There's one thing they didn't know about. She leans closer. The hallway has an audio recording. Different system. Security footage can be wiped, but audio is stored off-site for legal compliance. And I heard enough to make me sick. The security guard who gives Derek the audio file is a man named James who used to work with Derek's father before the accident. "Your dad was a good man," James says, handing over a USB drive. "I'm not supposed to do this. Could lose my job. But what I heard on this recording, your sister should be in jail, not inheriting anything. Be careful, Derek. These people are dangerous when cornered." Derek listens to the audio in his car, his hands shaking so badly he can barely hold the phone. Lydia's voice, cold and calculated. "Sign it, Mom. Sign it now, or we stop the treatment. I'll tell the doctors you refused further care. You'll die in pain alone, and Derek won't even know until it's too late. Is that what you want? Sign the will, and we'll make sure you're comfortable. Fight us and you die hard. Your choice." There's a long pause, then their mother's broken voice. "Please, Lydia. Don't do this. Your father wanted you both. Dad's dead. Sign the damn paper." Derek plays it 3 times, each repetition like a fresh wound. Then he calls a lawyer. Not just any lawyer, Elizabeth Chun, Mrs. Chen's daughter and one of the best estate attorneys in the state. She listens to the audio, examines the photo Derek managed to take of the will before Marcus grabbed it, and her expression grows darker with each revelation. This is elder abuse, coercion, document fraud. Derek, this will is legally worthless. Wrong date format, wrong legal phrasing, signature style doesn't match any previous documents. But here's what I don't understand. If they were going to forge it anyway, why force your mother to actually sign? Why the whole performance? Because they're not just greedy, Derek realizes. They're arrogant. They wanted her to feel defeated. They wanted to break her before she died. Elizabeth nods grimly. Then let's make sure they pay for every second of her suffering. Over the next week, Derek investigates. He discovers Lydia has been systematically draining their mother's bank accounts for 8 months, since the terminal diagnosis. $60,000 gone, transferred to accounts in Lydia and Marcus's names with memo lines like consulting and caregiver fees. Derek digs deeper into Marcus's background and finds a trail of fraud allegations from previous jobs, including one that resulted in a quiet resignation right before a formal investigation. Marcus is a professional con artist, and Lydia brought him into their family like a hired gun. The envelope the nurse found in Derek's mother's belongings contains a handwritten letter dated 2 weeks before her death, when she still had strength and clarity. My dearest Derek, if you're reading this, I'm gone and I fear Lydia has done exactly what she threatened. I've tried so hard to believe the best of her, but I can't ignore the evidence anymore. She's been stealing from me, threatening me. She brought that terrible man, Marcus, into our lives, and he's poisoned everything. Derek, your father, and I always intended for you and Lydia to share everything equally. We loved you both. But if something happens to me, if she tries to claim everything, know this. The truth is in the safe deposit box at First National Bank. Box 847. The key is taped inside the cover of my Bible, the one I always keep on my nightstand. Fight for what's right. Fight for what your father wanted. I'm so sorry you have to do this alone. I love you forever. Mom. Derek breaks into his mother's house. His house too legally, though Lydia has changed the locks. He climbs through a basement window at 3 a.m., adrenaline and grief driving him forward. The Bible is right where his mother said it would be, untouched in the chaos Lydia and Marcus created while cleaning. The key is exactly where she promised, taped to the inside back cover next to a photo of Derek and his father from 20 years ago. At the bank the next morning, Derek opens box 847 with shaking hands. Inside, he finds his father's original will from 12 years ago, leaving everything in trust for his wife during her lifetime, then split equally between Derek and Lydia upon her death. His mother's updated will from 3 years ago reaffirms the equal split, a USB drive, and a folder of bank statements showing Lydia's systematic theft. The teller, an elderly woman named Margaret, says quietly, "Your sister tried to access this box 2 days ago. Said her mother gave her a key. But the ID check failed. Her name isn't on the access list. Only yours. Your mother specifically added you 6 months ago and explicitly removed your sister. She was here, in a wheelchair, barely able to sit up. But she was determined. She said, 'My daughter can't be trusted anymore.'" Lydia proudly submits her fraudulent will to probate court, posting on social media about honoring mom's final wishes and accepting condolences from people who have no idea what she really is. Derek's lawyer files a challenge immediately, and the judge schedules a hearing for 3 weeks later. Lydia is confident, smug even. She's hired an expensive attorney with Marcus's stolen money and believes Derek, a firefighter who lives paycheck to paycheck, can't possibly afford to fight her. The courtroom on hearing day is packed. Family members, friends, and even some of their mother's former co-workers have shown up, drawn by the scandal. Lydia sits at the plaintiff's table, wearing an expensive black dress and false grief. Derek sits across from her in his dress uniform, the one he wore at his mother's funeral, representing honor and service, while Lydia represents greed and betrayal. Elizabeth Chun stands and plays the hallway audio recording. The courtroom goes dead silent as Lydia's voice fills the space. "Sign it, or we stop the treatment." Gasps ripple through the gallery. The judge's face hardens. Lydia's attorney stands, sputtering about context and misunderstanding, but the judge waves him down. "I'll hear the full evidence." "Proceed, Ms. Chun." Derek's lawyer produces both legitimate wills, the father's and the mother's. Marcus stands up, his face red, shouting that they're forgeries and fabrications, but the judge recognizes the notary's signature on both documents. "Mr. Walsh," the judge addresses Marcus coldly, "you're not a party to this case. Sit down or I'll have you removed." The judge orders a handwriting analyst, and the court takes a 15-minute recess while the analysis is performed. When they reconvene, the analyst's testimony is damning. The signature on the contested will shows clear signs of duress. The pressure is inconsistent, the formation is shaky, and there are hesitation marks suggesting the hand was being physically guided or forced. "In my professional opinion, this signature was not made freely." Lydia explodes. "That's a lie. She wanted this. She told me she wanted me to have everything." Marcus stands up again. "This is ridiculous. You told me to do it." Lydia suddenly screams at her husband. "You said it would work. You said we'd be rich. This is your fault." The courtroom erupts in chaos. The judge bangs her gavel, calling for order, and security moves in to separate Marcus and Lydia, who are now screaming at each other, their careful facade completely shattered. When order is finally restored, Elizabeth plays the final piece of evidence: Derek's mother's video message from the USB drive. The screen lights up with Derek's mother's face, recorded in her bedroom 2 months before her death. She's thin, her hair gone from chemotherapy, but her eyes are clear and her voice is steady. "My name is Margaret in Holland. This is my will and testament, recorded on May 15th of this year. I'm making this recording because I'm afraid of what my daughter Lydia might do after I'm gone. For the past 8 months, since my diagnosis, she's been pressuring me to change my will, to give her everything and leave my son Derek with nothing. She says he abandoned the family by becoming a firefighter instead of going into business. She says he doesn't deserve what my husband and I built. But the truth is, Derek is the only one who's been here. He visits me every single night after his shifts. He takes me to appointments. He holds my hand when I'm scared. Lydia comes by once a month if I'm lucky, and only when she wants something, usually money. She's brought her husband Marcus into this, and together they've been stealing from my accounts. I have proof. I've filed police reports, though I don't know if anything will come of them. I want to make this absolutely clear. My husband and I intended for our estate to be split equally between our children. That was always our wish. If it will surfaces after my death claiming anything different, please know it was obtained through coercion or fraud. Derek is honest, kind, and everything a parent could hope for in a son. Lydia has broken my heart repeatedly, but she's still my daughter, and I hope she finds her way back to goodness someday. But she cannot have everything. That's not what her father wanted. That's not what I want. To whoever is watching this, please help Derek. He's the good one. He always has been. The courtroom is silent except for quiet crying. Derek has tears streaming down his face. Lydia has collapsed forward onto the table, her shoulders shaking. The judge takes a long moment before speaking. Based on the evidence presented, the audio recording, the handwriting analysis, the original wills, and this video testament, I'm ruling the contested will invalid. Mrs. Holland's legitimate will, dated 3 years ago and properly executed, will stand. The estate is to be divided equally between Derek Holland and Lydia Walsh, as the mother intended. The judge pauses, looking directly at Lydia. Additionally, I'm referring this case to the district attorney for criminal investigation. The evidence suggests elder abuse, financial exploitation, coercion, document fraud, and possibly more. Ma'am, you may want to consult with a criminal defense attorney. Lydia and Marcus are eventually charged with multiple felonies. Derek watches them being led away in handcuffs, Lydia still crying, Marcus still raging. He feels no triumph. Just exhaustion and grief and relief that his mother's wishes are finally being honored. 6 months later, Derek stands in his mother's house, his house now legally. He's slowly been renovating it, keeping everything his mother loved while updating the things that needed care. Her garden is blooming again, the flowers she planted years ago finally getting the attention they deserve. Photos of his parents hang on every wall, memories preserved and honored. Derek has turned the dining room into a reading nook with his mother's favorite chair positioned by the window where she used to sit and watch birds. The doorbell rings. It's Elizabeth Chun, carrying a package. "This arrived at my office," she says. "From the hospital. The nurse who helped you, Jennifer, she found something while cleaning out storage." Inside is a leather journal, worn and loved, filled with his mother's handwriting. The final entry is dated 3 days before her death. "I'm so tired. The pain is constant now, and I know I don't have much time left. Lydia came today and demanded I sign her will. I refused, and she threatened me again. Said I'd die alone and in agony if I didn't give her what she wanted. I pretended to agree just to make her leave. The moment she was gone, I called Derek. He came straight from work, still in his uniform, smelling like smoke from whatever fire he'd just put out. He held my hand and didn't ask for anything. He just sat with me. That's the difference between my children. Derek gives. Lydia takes. I've done everything I can to protect Derek's inheritance. The safe deposit box, the video, and the real wills are hidden where Lydia won't find them. If she does what I think she'll do, Derek will have to fight. But I know him. He's like his father, strong, principled, unwilling to back down from what's right even when it's hard. Derek will fix what my love couldn't. He'll expose the lies, reclaim the truth, and honor his father's memory the way I should have been strong enough to do. I'm sorry I wasn't braver. I'm sorry I let fear of Lydia's anger keep me quiet for so long. But Derek won't make that mistake. He's the best thing I've ever done. And I hope, wherever I go after this, I can watch him live the life he deserves, free from his sister's greed, surrounded by truth and honor and love. My beautiful boy. My firefighter. My hero. Derek reads the entry through tears, his mother's words a final gift. He's not religious, but he looks up at the ceiling and says out loud, "I fixed it, Mom. Just like you knew I would." That evening, Derek hosts a dinner at the house, something his mother used to do every Sunday. Jennifer the nurse is there, along with Elizabeth, Mrs. Chun, James the security guard, and a few of Derek's firefighter colleagues who never met his mother but want to honor her memory. They eat his mother's recipes, tell stories about people they've lost, and toast to justice and integrity and the power of truth. As the evening winds down and guests leave, Derek stands on the porch watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and pink. His phone buzzes with a text from an unknown number. "This is Lydia. I'm out on bail. I'm getting help. Therapy. AA. Marcus and I are divorcing. I know you'll never forgive me, and I don't deserve forgiveness. But I want you to know that Mom was right about you. You're the good one. You always were. I'm sorry I couldn't see it until I destroyed everything. I hope someday I can be even a fraction of the person you are. I don't expect a response. I just needed you to know. Your sister, who wishes she'd been better." Derek stares at the message for a long time. He won't respond today. Maybe not ever. Forgiveness is a long road, and some betrayals cut too deep to heal quickly. But he saves the message instead of deleting it. Because his mother loved Lydia despite everything. Because his father would have wanted him to leave the door open, even just a crack, for redemption. Because Derek is, at his core, a firefighter, someone who runs toward burning buildings while others run away, someone who believes in saving people even when they're difficult to save. He goes back inside and sits in his mother's reading chair, surrounded by photos of happier times. His parents young and in love, Lydia as a little girl before greed twisted her, family Christmases and birthday parties and ordinary moments that felt meaningless then but are priceless now. Derek opens the journal to the last page and reads his mother's final words one more time. Derek will fix what love couldn't. "I did, Mom," he whispers to the empty room, to the house full of memories, to the mother whose love still feels present in every corner. "I fixed it. And I'm going to keep fixing things, broken people, broken systems, broken families, because that's what you taught me to do. Not for reward or recognition, but because it's right. Because someone has to stand up for people who can't stand up for themselves. Because that's what heroes do. And you raised a hero, Mom. Thank you for that. Thank you for everything." Derek closes the journal and sets it on the table beside his mother's Bible, the one that held the key to justice. Tomorrow he goes back to work, back to saving lives and fighting fires. But tonight, in this house filled with his parents' love and sacrifice, Derek allows himself just to be. A son who honored his mother's final wish, a brother who did the hard right thing instead of the easy wrong thing, and a man who knows that true wealth isn't measured in inheritance but in integrity, that real victory isn't about defeating enemies, but about staying true to yourself even when it costs you everything. His mother begged him to stop Lydia. So he did. Not with cruelty or revenge, but with truth and justice and the kind of stubborn love that refuses to let the good be destroyed by the corrupt. And in doing so, Derek didn't just reclaim his inheritance. He honored his parents' legacy, preserved his own integrity, and proved that sometimes the greatest thing you can inherit isn't money or property, but the courage to fight for what's right even when everyone tells you to accept injustice quietly. The house settles around him, creaking and sighing like it's breathing. Derek closes his eyes and feels, for the first time since his mother's death, something close to peace. He fixed what love couldn't, and in fixing it, he made his mother proud one final time. That's worth more than any inheritance. That's worth everything.